What women secretly crave after intimacy. Have you ever wondered what truly matters to a woman after intimacy? Here's something rarely talked about. For many women, the most meaningful part begins after the act itself. While men might feel the urge to roll over and fall asleep, women often crave continued closeness. A soft touch, a whispered word, a moment that says, "I'm still here with you." And when that emotional connection is nurtured, something powerful happens. Her satisfaction doesn't just end there, it plants a seed that grows into trust, desire, and a deeper bond. It becomes a cycle of fulfillment that keeps giving to emotionally and physically. There's also this curious finding: women who feel more comfortable in their own skin, who often touch or explore their own bodies, tend to have higher levels of sex hormones. It's as if self-awareness translates into confidence and vitality. And here's a quiet truth every man should know: you don't impress by bragging. You impress by surprising. Real skill in the bedroom isn't announced, it's felt, it's remembered. One more thing: women notice more than you think. Avoiding eye contact, looking down, those are signs she's checked out. But if she holds your gaze, that's a window, that's a yes. So next time you're wondering what she's thinking, don't just listen. Look, feel, stay. Because for her, intimacy isn't an ending, it's an opening. What female pleasure reveals about the soul? Let's talk about something few dare to explore. Not just female pleasure, but what it teaches us about human connection. Did you know that around 1% of women are able to reach orgasm solely through breast stimulation? It sounds surprising, but it's a powerful reminder that arousal isn't just physical, it's deeply individual, intuitive, and often emotional. And here's a beautiful truth: the clitoris, unlike almost every other part of the body, never ages. While our muscles weaken and our skin folds with time, that one organ stays youthful, as if nature itself insists that pleasure, when honored, is timeless. In fact, the female orgasm lasts up to 4 times longer than the male's. Think about that. It's not just longer. It's deeper, fuller, more sustained. It's an experience of being fully present, fully alive. That's not biology. That's poetry written in nerve endings. But even outside the bedroom, there are quiet truths we overlook. When she asks, "How do I look?" it's rarely about the outfit. It's a call for reassurance, and sometimes brutal honesty isn't the answer. Sometimes the wisest thing you can give is kindness disguised as truth. Lastly, let's talk about solitude. Many fear being alone, but that fear, it can blind us. It can keep us from discovering the most important person we'll ever meet, ourselves. So here's a question. What if understanding her body isn't just about intimacy, but about learning how to slow down, listen better, and connect deeper? What women really want: compatibility, not perfection. Let's be honest. When it comes to intimacy, we're often fed the wrong idea of what matters most. We chase extremes, appearances, and numbers. But what if the truth is a lot simpler and more human? For example, researchers have found that most women actually prefer a penis length between 8 and 10 centimeters. Yes, not the exaggerated myths, not the unrealistic expectations, just something that feels right, emotionally and physically. And here's something even more eye-opening. Over 80% of women admit to testing sexual compatibility before marriage, not out of lust, but out of wisdom. Because for a relationship to thrive, the body has to speak the same language as the heart. What's even more beautiful: many women in their 40s and 50s report having more intense orgasms than when they were younger. It's not age that dims desire, it's disconnection. And when a woman is in tune with herself, with experience and self-trust, pleasure deepens. Now here's a quirky truth: women get drunk faster than men. Why? They have less body water to dilute alcohol. So next time she says she's tipsy, believe her. Ever noticed women go to the restroom in groups? It's not just about biology. It's about bonding, a space where they swap comments, fix their makeup, or just breathe. And finally, during ovulation, a woman's body is biologically more responsive. Her chances of climax? Naturally higher. Nature has its own rhythm. and desire often follows it. So maybe the question isn't, how do I perform? Maybe it's, am I present enough to understand her rhythm? What her body language is really saying. We often think communication is all about words, but the truth? The body speaks first. When a woman is interested, she doesn't always say it out loud. But her body? It tells 1,000 stories. The way she shifts her feet toward you in a crowded room, the way she absent-mindedly plays with her hair, or how she leans just slightly closer when she feels safe. These aren't random. They're signals, gentle ones. And the men who notice? They're the ones she remembers. Understanding body language isn't about being a pickup artist. It's about awareness, respect, presence. It's learning how to listen without needing sound. Now here's a wild contrast. While her body is communicating subtle cues, a man's biology is doing something else entirely. Did you know the average pair of testicles produces 1/500 sperm per heartbeat? That's raw biology. Relentless, efficient, unstoppable. But raw biology alone doesn't build connection. Perception does. On a social level, we can only maintain meaningful friendships with about 150 people. That's it. No matter how many followers we have online, real connection has a limit. And that's why subtle signals matter, because they guide us to the right people. Now let's get real. Studies show that 80% of men glance at a woman's breasts the first time they meet. It's instinctual, but it doesn't define you. What matters is whether you stay there or look her in the eyes and actually see her. And women. When they're attracted, they might lick their lips. It's unconscious. A biological invitation, wrapped in something almost invisible, but again, only the observant will notice. So the next time you're talking to someone, don't just hear their words. Watch, feel, be present. Because attraction isn't about volume, it's about attunement, desire, discipline, and the quiet power of masculinity. In a world where everything is loud, desires, opinions, distractions, real strength often shows up in silence, in restraint, in presence. Let's start with something unexpected. Watching. Adult content together. For some couples, it's not about lust, it's about shared experience. When done with respect, it can open conversation, invite curiosity, and build trust. Because when two people explore honestly, without shame, they grow together, not apart. And speaking of life-defining moments, there's a quote by Mark Twain that echoes deeper the older you get. The two most important days in your life are the day you are born and the day you find out why. Think about that. Passion fades, looks change, but purpose, that stays. Now here's something curious. Feet are one of the most common fetishes in Western culture. It might seem odd, but in psychology it makes sense. Feet are both intimate and often hidden. And sometimes the things we suppress are the things that show up in desire. But let's get more personal. There's a piece of advice many men have heard. Don't cry in front of your wife. It sounds cold, maybe even toxic. But what it's really saying isn't don't feel, it's choose when to reveal. Because part of masculine presence is knowing how to carry weight, not hide it, but hold it steady. And when it comes to foreplay, here's the truth. Focus less on just the obvious. Explore the overlooked, the neck, the back, the inner thighs. Touch is a language, and women don't want a checklist. They want to be read like poetry. So what if real masculinity isn't about dominance, but about awareness, timing, and the courage to stay calm in the fire? The quiet strength of a stoic man. There's a kind of man who doesn't need to shout. He doesn't need to flex or dominate or prove anything to anyone. His presence alone speaks. His life is the argument. Want to know who he really is? Look at his friends, because the people he surrounds himself with are mirrors of his values, his discipline, his boundaries. A wise man doesn't need 1,000 connections, just a handful of real ones. And here's something worth remembering. Don't argue with fools. They won't listen, and worse, they'll pull you down to their level and beat you with experience. Silence in those moments isn't weakness, it's wisdom. We're often sold a lie that manhood must look a certain way, bigger, louder, harder. But here's the truth most men discover with time: the average is enough. In intimacy, it's not size that creates connection. It's presence, patience, and emotional safety. And when it comes to strength, real strength isn't built in a gym. Health beats muscle. Energy, stamina, self-discipline, those are the traits that last when youth fades. A stoic man isn't fearless, he's just ready. Because he's lived fully, loved deeply, made peace with himself. As the saying goes, a man who's truly alive has no fear of death. And finally, anger. We think it protects us, that it's power. But really, anger corrodes the vessel more than it ever harms the target. To hold on to it is to drink poison, hoping someone else will fall. So maybe being a man isn't about conquering the world. Maybe it's about mastering yourself. Attraction, timing, and the unspoken language of desire. Desire doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers through a song, a scent, or a glance that lingers 1 second too long. For women, attraction is often emotional before it's physical. That's why a romantic movie, or a love song at just the right moment, can stir something deeper than words. It's not just entertainment, it's a mirror. A reminder of what longing feels like, of what it means to be seen, chosen, desired. Now here's something most men don't realize. During ovulation, a woman's biology changes. Her senses sharpen, her attraction intensifies, and yes, research shows she's more likely to entertain forbidden thoughts, especially if emotional needs aren't being met. It's not moral failure, it's nature nudging her, quietly, but desire isn't always obvious. Sometimes it shows up in the simplest of places, like shopping for lingerie. Together, you're not just browsing fabrics, you're stepping into a space of vulnerability, playfulness, and anticipation. And for many women, that is where arousal begins, not in the act, but in the moment she feels safe being desired. Einstein once said, "An hour with a pretty girl feels like a minute on a hot stove feels like an hour." That's not just physics, that's attraction. Time bends when you're drawn to someone. Every second expands. Every pause becomes a question. And then there's scent, one of the most powerful, underrated triggers of desire. A man's natural smell, when clean, subtle, and confident, can spark a primal response deeper than logic. It's chemistry, literally. So here's the question. Are you paying attention to the moments that don't speak but still say everything? Feminine desire, power, and the truth behind the fantasy. Desire doesn't fade with age. In fact, for many women, it sharpens. Between the ages of 30 and 40, something remarkable happens. Fantasy becomes bolder, and the search for meaningful pleasure, not just romance, begins. These aren't women seeking validation. They're seeking experience, ownership, freedom, and sometimes, yes, casual connection, but on their terms. And when it comes to true satisfaction, it's not about tricks or routines. Studies show that combined stimulation, both genital and nipple, brings female desire to its peak. It's not just physical, it's felt through presence, rhythm, and attention. There's also a myth that women dress for men. They don't. They dress for themselves, for how they feel in the moment, the rhythm of their cycle, their mood, their rituals, sometimes for power, sometimes for softness, and sometimes just because the right outfit makes her feel alive again. Here's something fascinating. Frequent, fulfilling sex doesn't just satisfy, it boosts a woman's libido and feminine energy. Her glow isn't makeup, it's chemistry, built from connection, movement, and self-expression. And what kind of men do women truly feel drawn to? Not always the most muscular or flashy, but the ones who are energetic, healthy, grounded. Men who take care of themselves, not to impress others, but to feel fully alive. Younger women, too, often gravitate toward older men. Why? Not because of age, but because of stability, a calm presence, a life that feels safe to step into without fear of losing themselves. So maybe female desire isn't mysterious at all. Maybe it's just honest and waiting for the world to finally listen. Pleasure, presence, and the timeless nature of desire. Some things about women never stop surprising us, not because they're mysterious, but because we rarely stop long enough to truly notice. Let's start with something science confirms. Frequent, fulfilling sex isn't just about pleasure. It actually boosts the immune system. Connection makes us healthier, literally. It's biology reminding us that intimacy is more than touch. It's medicine for the soul and body. Then there's eye contact. Not the quick glance, but the kind of gaze that lingers, that says, "I see you." It's one of the oldest, clearest signs of attraction. And yet so many people miss it by looking down at their phones instead of into each other's eyes. Ever wonder why it takes her 15, maybe even 20 minutes just to pick an outfit? It's not vanity, it's curation, a form of silent expression. Every outfit says something different. Strong, soft, daring, playful. And most days she wants to get it just right. Not for you, but for her. Speaking of getting it right, studies show that morning deep penetration, especially in doggy position, increases the likelihood of orgasm. Why? Blood flow, relaxed. Bodies, less pressure. A recipe for deeper connection before the world even begins. And if you think arousal is all about grand gestures, think again. 70% of women say that a simple kiss on the lips can spark arousal. It's not about intensity. It's about presence. You've probably noticed, women carry everything in their bags. Lip balm, tissues, random items. Just in case. That's not disorganized. That's preparation. A reflection of how they live, ready for anything, even if it never happens. And here's the most beautiful fact of all. Female orgasms don't expire. There are women in their 70s, 80s, even 90s, still experiencing pleasure, still alive to sensation, because desire, when honored, doesn't age. It evolves. So maybe the goal isn't to chase pleasure, but to slow down enough to meet it, again and again, across a lifetime. The strange, honest, beautiful truth about desire. Desire is rarely simple. It's layered, unpredictable, and sometimes even paradoxical. Here's something most people don't talk about. Some women feel a sense of sadness or even depression during arousal or sex. It doesn't mean something is broken. It means something real is surfacing. Because intimacy doesn't just unlock pleasure. It can also open the door to buried emotions, unresolved stories, and the parts of us we usually keep quiet. And while feelings deepen, the body speaks too. When a woman is genuinely attracted to someone, her voice often changes. Faster, higher, a little lighter. It's involuntary. A signal wired deep into biology. Here's a curveball. Semen contains zinc and calcium, two minerals known to help prevent tooth decay. Strange? Yes. True, also yes. Biology has its own sense of humor, but men, you're not left out of the story. Foreplay focused on the chest and nipples actually boosts your arousal too. The body isn't a checklist, it's a symphony, and when it's played with care, both sides awaken. So, if you've made it this far, drop a simple "OK" in the comments. Not because it's just a video, but because this conversation matters. Because intimacy isn't just about sex, it's about awareness, respect, and the courage to be seen. There's always more to explore. So watch the next video, stay curious, and as always, stay safe, stay real, and stay awesome.